What is more difficult, shooting around an active volcano or shooting in North Korea?
Well, North Korea is a very special case because it took almost a year until we had permit to shoot, and we were all somehow as a natural concomitant of the scientific collaboration, and it's the only collaboration that North Korea has with any country in the West. So, of course, we had very, very, very limited permits only, and we were clearly advised what we could shoot. And of course, we had Secret Service people, and we had guides, and we had ideologues around. And in a way, I managed to bamboozle them into accepting things that were not in our program, like shooting in a kindergarten, shooting in a stadium, shooting in the subway.
How did you do that? What's the secret to the bamboozling?
Well, what happened is I knew how to speak to them, and when we introduced ourselves at the beginning, I had the feeling reunification was important for them. And I mentioned that when German politics abandoned reunification in the 80s, I said to myself, only the poets can hold the country together. And I traveled on foot, always following all the sinuations of the border and up and down in the mountains around Germany. And I traveled something like 1,600 miles on foot, all in solitude, just to hold it together. And all of a sudden I noticed that one of the scientists had tears in his face, and I thought, yeah, I touched a chord. And I realized that reunification for them is the deepest of all quests. And I had a different sort of respect from them. And I would tell them, for example, I'd like to shoot in the subway because there are mosaics with one of the leaders, Kim Jong-il, and he was depicted standing at the crater rim. Now I can't shoot that, I cannot do it. And now the kind of language I used, I would tell them, I know Munich, where I come from, and it's a clean, some sort of depersonalized subway. You just don't like to be in it. New York, I know, rat-infested, vomit everywhere, and homeless people sleeping in there. Of course, it's shut down during the night. And Moscow, where you have these gigantic halls, but it feels like tens of thousands of tons weighing on you, of rock and cement. But here you have these gigantic halls and lights that look like spring flowers. And when the masses exit the subway, it's so generous to allow them to walk into a spring morning. And they looked at me, and 2 hours later I was shooting in the subway. So, and I would not speak of the working class, I would speak of the masses. So there's
And being generous to the masses.
Yes, and speaking of the masses is a very delicate distinction.